Christmas time. It is that time of year that is filled with cheer, family, presents, and elf reruns on Freeform. But this Christmas it is a little bit more magical because we have been gifted with the release of one of the best streaming platforms right now, Disney Plus, which brings us great content like High School Musical, the musical, the series, The Mandalorian, The Imagineering Story, and then we also have movies like this.
Yo! Snow cone!
I'm going to be very honest though, the first time that I saw the trailer for this movie, I actually didn't hate it. I thought that it looked like a fun Christmas movie. And I didn't see it and be like, wow, this is going to be the next Home Alone or the next Elf. But it looks like it was going to be a really fun Christmas movie to watch. Like, I wasn't overly excited about this movie. I did think it would be a good movie though. And I still believe that it is a good movie. But for me also, a Christmas movie, I don't really put them on the same pedestal as like a regular movie that would come out like any time of the year. Christmas movies, I feel like there are a few criteria that they have to meet in order for them to be classified as good, and the criteria is less strict for a Christmas movie. Like for me, I feel like a Christmas movie just has to be fun, enjoyable. Those are synonyms. But for me, a Christmas movie pretty much just has to be a fun movie to watch. Maybe throw in some funny jokes in the middle, and as long as you can enjoy it and like have a smile on your face by the end of it, it did its job. A perfect example of one of these movies is The Santa Claus. It is not the most fantastic movie. It has its flaws, but it is a fun, enjoyable Christmas movie. So that is pretty much what my expectation is going into Noelle. Noelle begins in the past when we see a little girl named Noelle wake up in the middle of the night on Christmas Eve after she hears Santa Claus arrive at her home. When Santa arrives, we find out that this little girl is actually Santa Claus's daughter. And real quick, I know that this is just a movie, so it's not meant to make perfect sense. But to me, this girl doesn't really look like she could be the daughter of Santa Claus, at least this particular Santa Claus. Because this Santa Claus, and she's like 8 or 9, maybe even younger. And I just don't think it's very realistic that a girl that young has a father that old. Like, I'm not saying like he's old, but like, you know what I mean. Anyways, we learn that Noelle's brother Nick is in line to become the next Santa Claus and is getting ready to begin his Santa training. Noelle begins to question her place at the North Pole and tells her father that when she grows up, she wants to be a bigger part of the toy making process. To which Santa replies,
"You do, Noelle. You make everyone jolly with your cards and your Christmas cheer, and you know how much your brother depends on you, so you can help him and always keep his Christmas spirit up."
So pretty much in the nicest way possible, Santa told Noelle that she really wasn't worth anything. Like, I know, like, I may be looking a little too deep into this, but he told Noelle that she can keep making cards and, like, all that in order to keep spreading the Christmas cheer. But, like, to be honest, like, I know, like, that's, like, important, like, to be, like, jolly during the Christmas season, but that's not, like, a necessary role to be working at the North Pole. Like, that's just kind of a given for the people at the North Pole. It just doesn't make much sense.
Now that I'm grown up, Christmas is still my favorite time of the year. Although, this Christmas is a sad one. Dad passed away 5 months ago, and I miss him every day.
Whoa! Why do we have to make things that depressing 5 minutes into a freaking Disney movie? So basically, now that Noelle's father isn't with them anymore, her brother Nick is now Santa Claus, but really quickly we learn that he's not really cut out for the job. A quick side note, the visual effects in this movie don't really look that good in my opinion. I feel like it takes me out of the movie a little bit. And like, I know that this is a Christmas movie, and usually like budget-wise, Christmas movies, they don't have the largest budgets compared to like Star Wars and like Avengers and like just pretty much any like other like big Hollywood movie. But this is on Disney Plus. This is a Disney movie. They spent literally $100 million or something like that on The Mandalorian. And you can't tell me that they did not have a little extra money to just try and make the VFX look a little better. I mean, like, look at this reindeer. Like, I know it's not, like, the worst it could possibly look. Like, I know, like, it could look much worse. But I feel like they could have done a little bit to make it look a little bit better. Like, if you know what I mean. Like, I don't know. It just kind of took me out of it when I saw this. Anyways, we cut to the future and we learn that Noelle doesn't really do much at the North Pole other than eat waffles and make Christmas cards. So, like, at this point, like, we kind of believe Santa, what he said to Noelle earlier. Like, she doesn't really do much. She's kind of worthless at the North Pole at this point, which, like, I know, like, that's not what they're trying to say, but that's kind of how I feel watching this. Like, she doesn't really do much. And yeah, that's just kind of the vibe I'm getting right here. One detail that I thought was actually very cool about this movie's version of the North Pole is that the sidewalks are ice and people just wear skates to go around. Like, they don't drive, they don't, like, just walk. Like, honestly, I think the ice skating sidewalks is an original idea that I haven't really seen before. And if it is in another movie, you can leave it in the comments below. But for me personally, I've never seen that before. And I just thought that was a cool concept. That's something that usually we don't see. And you know what? Good job. Good job, Disney. Good job. So Noelle visits Nick at his workshop, and he's just not in good condition, like, at all. Like, he has an ice pack on his head, and, like, you know, he's, like, feeling sick, and it's because he got hurt at his Santa training. And this is where we also learn that Christmas is in danger, and that if Noelle doesn't help Nick get on track and be a good Santa, then Christmas might just not even happen that year. I feel like that's kind of a common trope in Christmas movies, like, if this doesn't happen, then Christmas is ruined. Like, that's just, I don't know, I feel like it's a cliche that Christmas is going to be ruined. Also, something I didn't notice the first time I watched this movie, that's the lady from Airplane. I really liked that movie, and I didn't even realize it was her. Maybe because it was like, she's like 30 years older, but like, you know what? Cool, she's in this movie. I didn't recognize her at first, but you know what? She's there. So Noelle proceeds to help Nick prepare for Christmas, and you know, he's still not really doing a great job. Also, I don't know what this movie's obsession with iPads is. Like, it seems like every single kid wants an iPad. Like, I'm not knocking the iPad at all. Like, I just don't know that many people who want an iPad or use an iPad a lot. Like, I know that there are people out there, like, they're creative people. But kids, like, I feel like a kid would more want an iPhone or, like, an Xbox. Like, I don't know, an iPad, that just doesn't really seem realistic to me. Like, I know I'm probably sounding stupid when I say that, but as the tech person I am, I don't know, it kind of bothered me. So at this point, Nick tells Noelle about his discontent with living at the North Pole and trying to become Santa Claus, and he wants to explore the outside world. And then Noelle encourages him to take a trip so that he can clear his mind, not expecting him to actually take her advice. But when everyone finds out that Noelle told Santa to get away, they pretty much shun her, and she just becomes an outcast at the North Pole. Because of Nick's absence, their cousin Gabe, who works in the IT department, is now taking over as Santa. Not that shockingly, nobody is too thrilled about this, and they continue to blame Noelle for this. So I don't really understand why people were mad at Noelle for this, because, you know, if Nick was a good Santa, he probably wouldn't have gone away. And, you know, Nick, literally 10 minutes earlier, they said Nick was not a good Santa, and that if Noelle doesn't help him, Christmas is ruined. So they already knew that Christmas was probably going to be ruined, and then now because Noelle suggested, like, you know, clear your mind a little bit, like maybe like in a few days you'll feel it again, and then you could come back and then you'll be a great Santa. They get mad at her for that? That honestly just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know, I'm probably just looking too deep into this. So Noelle figures out that Nick is in Phoenix and decides to take the sleigh so that she can try to find him. And then her and their family nanny or whatever, Elf Polly or Aunt Polly, whatever you remember her as, end up in an outlet mall where we meet this manager lady who just really isn't that important to the story. Like, she's just kind of there for most of it. She does have this weird side love story that, like, doesn't really make any sense or, like, doesn't have any impact on the story. Like, it was just kind of thrown in there. But yeah, she's not that important to the story. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Noelle then explores Phoenix to search for her brother when she meets Jake, a detective that she pretty much meets with in order to help find Nick. We learned that he doesn't really get that excited about Christmas, which is the type of person Noelle has never really met before, you know, being from the North Pole and everything. And throughout this film, we see Noelle try to attempt to get Jake more excited about the holiday season and bring him closer to his son, who he just doesn't have the greatest relationship. I feel like those are two more cliches from Christmas movies. You know, like the guy that's grumpy, like, oh man, you know what? I hate Christmas. The Christmas isn't that good. You know, it's not that fun. I didn't get what I wanted, so I hate Christmas. And then, like, you know, like there's also like the guy who doesn't like. Those are literally two cliches from the Santa Claus. I just picked up on that. While all this is going on, Gabe, the IT guy who has taken over as Santa Claus, has created an algorithm called Fa La La to determine which kids were naughty and which ones were nice. But the algorithm takes everything too literal and believes that a majority of the kids in the world are naughty. Yes, this is actually a subplot of this movie. What the subplot in this movie, though, actually kind of reminds me of is the subplot in the Santa Claus 2, where the toy Santa thinks every kid is naughty because they did like one naughty thing throughout the year, and he wants to give everyone coal. I feel like this one was a little bit more effective, though, because it wasn't like every kid in the world was the naughty kids. Like, I know, like, every kid does something naughty at least one point throughout the year, but it wasn't, like, as exaggerated as, like, it is in the Santa Claus 2, but I feel like it was better in Noelle, because also it did bring for some funny moments. Like, this dude was literally, like, sending emails to kids, like, saying, like, you don't qualify for presents this year, better luck next year, like, you know, stupid stuff like that. And honestly, I thought that was pretty enjoyable. It gave me a good laugh, I'm not gonna lie. Anyways, back in Phoenix, Noelle and Jake find Nick teaching a yoga class where we learn that he is happy in Phoenix and he doesn't want to go back to the North Pole because he doesn't feel like he belongs there. He doesn't think he's gonna be a good Santa, so he tells Noelle that he's staying. And then literally 10 minutes later, he decides he's gonna go back. However, Nick is still certain that he doesn't want to be Santa, so he and Noelle work at the mall Santa station before the new one comes up. And then kids end up confronting Nick about the emails Gabe sent out. Shit kind of hits the fan. Nick reads the emails. Noelle tells Jake that she's actually from the North Pole. And then Noelle ends up being arrested for beating up the new Santa. And also, she's going to be given a psychiatric evaluation because, obviously, if you tell someone that you're from the North Pole, they will probably think you're crazy. Jake begins to realize that Noelle was possibly telling the truth when he finds out Alex never told her what he wanted for Christmas, and also when Elf Polly visits Jake at his home. He then helps Noelle get out of the psychiatric center, and she's able to escape when Nick and Polly bring the sleigh up to the window. They then return to the North Pole, where Nick tells everyone that the only person cut out to be Santa is Noelle. You see, throughout the film up to this point, Noelle had several instances where she showed off her Santa Claus magic she possessed, like when she knew who the naughty and nice kids were, knew what Alex wanted for Christmas without even telling her, and when she understood sign language when the one deaf kid was talking to her. Noelle then takes over as Santa and wears a suit that is like 10 sizes too big, and then takes off and totally bombs her job at the first few houses. Like, just look at this one.
What's your wish?
Like, I don't think Santa would make the mistake of going to someone's house who doesn't celebrate Christmas. Then she makes her way to the shelter that one deaf girl that I mentioned to you guys about like 20 seconds ago, where her and her mom lived. And people started to call her Santa at that point, and she pretty much just gained the confidence that she needed to do the job. Her Santa suit became smaller so that it fit her better, and then she began to live up to the expectations of the Kringle family, and she was even able to help Jake love Christmas once again. Upon returning to the North Pole, the elves and everyone at the pole began to accept her as the new Santa, and then she also made changes like adding a yoga studio. Like, thank God, now we have hipsters at the North Pole. That is epic. Was this the best Christmas movie ever made? No. No, it wasn't. Was this the worst Christmas movie ever made? No. No, it wasn't. This movie has like a 64% on both Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb for the rating, and honestly, I feel like that's a very fair rating for this movie. Like, it's not perfect by any means. It's not like a great Christmas movie, but it's also not a bad movie. Like, I can watch this movie and enjoy it. I just don't think it would become like a Christmas tradition to watch this movie. Like, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it could be a lot better. The only character, like, to an extent at least, that I could say is memorable in this film is Noelle. Anna Kendrick, she honestly did really good in this role. But like every other character I felt was alright at best. One thing that kind of disappointed me about this movie is that Bill Hader, who is literally on the poster for this freaking movie, is maybe only in the movie for about like 30 minutes. Like, he's not in it that much. He's just kind of there at points. Like, he has the funny stuff with like the yoga and stuff, but like every other point in the movie, I feel like he's just kind of there. But like, even when he was just doing yoga, like, that's not even like really significant to this movie. Like, it just shows that like he doesn't want to be there at the North Pole. But I feel like he should have been a bigger part of this movie than he actually was. I don't know. It just wasn't enough for me. A character that I feel like is more fleshed out than a majority of the characters in this movie is Snow Cone, who is the little CGI reindeer that I kind of complained about earlier. But honestly, that character, it was fun. Like, you know, when Snow Cone came on screen, like, it wasn't, like, irritating. It was like, hey, look, Snow Cone's here. Like, you know, yeah, hey, fun. Like, it wasn't, like, anything special. Like, this movie was nothing special. It was good, just nothing special. Also, you remember that one manager that I mentioned earlier? She also had this really weird side plot where she was, like, in love with the Petco manager. Like, that was completely random. I completely forgot about it until like I rewatched the movie so I could review it. But that was just random. Like, I don't know why that was there. But like I said, I don't hate this movie. I thought it was actually a good movie. Not a great movie, but it was pretty good. If one of my friends wanted to watch this movie, I'd probably watch it with them. But I just feel like the characters, they should have dove a little deeper into them. There were some things that just like were kind of weird about this movie that I didn't like. But for the most part, this was an enjoyable movie to watch. So I don't really have an issue with it. If you want to watch a good Christmas movie, it's here. Just don't expect it to become a part of your holiday tradition. And with that being said, I would probably rate this movie a 3 out of 5. So that is pretty much it for this video, guys. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe. Turn on notifications so you guys know whenever I post new videos. I know this was really different for me. I don't really do movie reviews, but it's kind of just something I wanted to try out, see if I liked it. If you guys do enjoy it, I'll do more. If you want to leave suggestions for stuff you want me to do, leave it in the comments below. I know for a fact I want to do The Mandalorian, and I also want to do High School Musical, the musical, the series, when both of those shows conclude. But for now, Disney Plus is loading. Okay, I don't know if you guys have been having this issue. Disney Plus, it does this a lot. Like, it just pauses and then starts loading. Like, listen, I love Disney Plus, but this is annoying sometimes. Like, I feel like 95% of the time when I'm watching a movie, it does this. Oh yeah, don't mind my hair right now. It's really bad. But anyways, guys, I will see you guys next time with a new video. Goodbye.